All right, it is 18:35. Good evening, everyone. Once again, thank you very much for joining this first session, introductory session of debating. This is the Legist lab, founded by Taz Aldik. He's not with us tonight, but you are in the capable hands of Elicia and myself, Theo. I'm just going to quickly allow Elicia just to introduce herself real quick before we start, and then I will come in.
Hi everyone, so I'm Elicia. I have recently graduated after studying international law and globalisation at the University of Birmingham, and I'm currently working for the probation service. Haven't yet started the bar course. I'm hoping to start in January 2025 and obviously aim to become a barrister.
Thank you, Elicia. Thank you. So my name is Theo Mukamori. I completed the bar last year. I was called last year, November, Lincoln's Inn. I am unregistered, seeking for my pupilage at the moment, but I'm a county court advocate, and I'm also an associate lecturer of law. I lecture debating. The power of debate is the module name. So this is something that I'm quite interested and quite excited about. Me and Elicia are both ambassadors within the debate section of Legist. There are different arms to it. There is mooting, there is advocacy, there's public speaking, there's events. So debating just forms part of that. So we hope that this debating side of things will help you on your journey, either to the bar, if you finish the bar already, your journey to become a barrister, because we're all aspiring barristers. We want to practice here. So that is that with general introductions. So we shall not waste a lot of time. I'm going to go straight into the session because we don't have a lot of time left. So this is the inaugural session, session 1. And the structure of the session, basically, as we've done already, we've had some introductions, roughly about 10 minutes. We shall have a lecture for about 35 minutes. So I'm not going to be boring you with stuff. It's going to be interactive. If you have any questions or you need to point out anything, please feel free. However, we shall have a question and answer at the end for about 15 minutes. So please feel free to drop any questions you might have into the chat, and Elicia will be able to pick those up, and at the end we shall go through them.
This video is sponsored by Lexstery, the first free online community for aspiring lawyers pursuing a legal career in England and Wales. Inside the community, you will gain access to our courses, legal career consulting programs, forum, free resources, and live events, which we run every month, covering a range of topics, including legal applications, legal interviews, advocacy events, and we host guest speakers from across the legal profession who share their tips and tricks on how to secure a training contract and pupilage. You can sign up for free at lexstery.com, and we look forward to welcoming you inside our legal community.
Or just save your question until the end and you can have an opportunity to ask it. So the topic for tonight, just an introductory session, and we've already introduced ourselves. I'm Theo, and Elicia is my colleague. Right, we shall go on to the next slide now. So this session today will roughly be about 60 minutes. And the learning outcomes which we want today, which we hope to come out of today saying we have been able to achieve, is basically the ability to define what debating is and explain the benefits to your career, to describe what constitutes the marking criteria and explain the engagement and learning approach, and the ability to explain the structure of legist debating and have an appreciation of what parliamentary debating is. Okay? So just to give an idea of what's going to be there in the session today, just some indicative content. Next slide, please. So we're going to talk about the history of debating, debating today, engagement approach, learning approach, frequency and location of sessions, what debating is, main functions, purpose and benefits, the marking criteria. We're going to define parliamentary debates, the structure of debates, and then the question and answer right at the end. Okay, next slide, please. So the history of debating. Just to throw a question at this point, who knows the history of debating? Where is it traced back to? Just a curious question. No takers?
Hello.
Yeah, James.
Can you hear me all right?
Yes,
All
loud
right.
and clear.
I don't know, but I'm going to hazard a guess and say ancient Greece.
Absolutely. Yes. And India as well. So spot on. Thank you for that. Next slide, please. So ancient Greece and ancient India, we see the Greek philosopher Socrates between that period 470 and 399 BC. And then in 63 BC, we see Cicero famous for his ability to detect weakness in contemporary Roman government. So you see, it's very political. It's not just a modern thing. It started off very political. Debate can be a perilous intellectual pursuit. Both men paid for such fraternity with their lives. So you see that debating can be very controversial. We enjoy it now, but the history of it has been very controversial. It has spearheaded revolutions and everything. Then if we move on now to 1858, we now see the debates of Abraham Lincoln and Stephen Douglas. You know, there's a Douglas debate and stuff like that. So this is the history of it. If we move on to the next slide, please. When we look at debating today, okay, you will find that you find it in universities, boardrooms, House of Parliament, presidential elections, dinner tables, TikTok comment section, primary school classes. I mean, it is everywhere. We are debating every time, okay? If we go on to the next slide. So the engagement approach. So we want to create real value for each debater. So this is not about the ambassadors, me, Elicia coming, or anyone who's going to come on as either a guest speaker or anything like that. It's about the debaters getting real value, okay? You guys getting the most out of it, okay? And to enhance and widen individual aspirations. So not everyone wants to practice, okay? But I'm sure everyone wants to become a barrister. Some barristers are not in practice, but they're in industry and different sectors of employment. So you find that we want to be able to allow people to get the most that they can apply these debating skills in any sector and any platform, okay? With reference to real world workplace issues, okay? There are practical issues out there which we want to be able to apply. Then the learning approach is going to be very active and inclusive. So we are going to be asking you a lot of questions about the topics you want to do, the motions and stuff like that, so that you're also involved, you are part of what we are doing, so that it's inclusive and very active, not just one-sided, but you guys actually teaming up with us to create the perfect package. And online debating sessions. So these are online debating sessions which we shall be having, okay? That's the learning approach. And you also be getting support and guidance through constructive feedback. So you will notice later on, we shall be talking about the marking criteria. You'll be getting feedback from actual practitioners, people that are seasoned within debating, who will actually be giving you real tips and practical tips that you can use as you go along. All right. And then we also want to be able to have a delivery that takes into consideration diverse cultural and knowledge competencies and nuances. So for example, this is a platform for aspiring barristers. So we are all at different levels. Some are, like myself, I was called last year. Elicia is about to start her journey. I don't know if there's anyone online now who's already a pupil or about to become a future pupil, or someone who's a barrister, So there are different people. We want to be able to include everybody so that it serves everybody and everyone can get the most out of it, okay? The next slide, please. So the frequency and location of sessions, here where we are right now is exactly where they will be. We have 1 hour sessions every month, Thursday, 6:30 to 7:30 p.m., Okay, and sessions, as I mentioned, is online, and it's basically Google Meet, which is an app within Circle. Right, so I'm going to take a pause here. If you go to the next slide, please. When you hear of this statement, what is debating? I'm just going to ask the floor right now. How many people have been involved with debates? Okay, James has been involved. James, do you mind just sharing with us what you've done?
Not much, really. I did one debate in the third year of my undergraduate, and I've done 2 through my inn of court. I'm not exactly seasoned or anything, but I've done the rodeo a couple of times ostensibly.
Okay, that's good. Anybody else? Anybody else has debated? Nobody? Okay, that's all right. Well, we shall all... Yes, Chantal, sorry?
Theo. I have debated also.
Okay. What context? What kind of debate? When?
So it was last year. I live in the BVI, and the Bar Association here had a debate competition where entrants would have had a written piece submitted on whether jury trials should be abandoned, and where it is that your submission was submitted, you would have then been chosen to present in the court. And so we presented. I was one of the persons who was chosen, and I presented in the Supreme Court here in front of a justice. So that was pretty interesting.
Oh wow, that's amazing! Yeah, that's interesting. That's really good. That's a very interesting motion as well. Very interesting motion.
Yes.
Were you proposition or opposition? Were you the government opposition?
So I initially agreed that they should be abandoned, and then I went on to suggest ways in which the challenges with jury trials being abandoned, how to mitigate those challenges. And I used I believe it was Antigua or Anguilla, which had a system where the person on trial could choose, and then based on, I believe, the circumstances of the case, then the court or the judge would determine whether to use a trial by jury or not.
Okay. That's very
And
interesting.
Yes, I also suggested using assessors instead of a jury who would have had a little bit more experience in dealing with certain matters than a juror.
Okay.
I'll say this, justice was not very happy, but but I was able to make a point, so.
I can imagine. And you've touched on very interesting points, and one that I like very much is the thing that distinguishes a pro against a con. Because many people say debating is pros and cons, but it's more than that. It's looking at those nuances which you can mitigate the cons. So that ability to say, yes, this is a con, but we can mitigate it by doing ABC. So that ability to be very balanced and still look on the other side of a negative and see how you can turn it around. So thank you very much for that. Is it Chantel? Is it?
Yes, you can call me Chantel or Gray. Either one is fine.
Chantel. Okay, thank you very much. Right, so that is debating in a nutshell. We've been able to get some different flavors of it, but the definition has been spelled out. It's basically formal arguments. If we can please go to the next slide. So it's a method of argumentation, formal, structured. You've got individuals in there, or it can be teams, opposing viewpoints, logical reasoning, rhetoric. I love rhetoric. As we go on, we shall be looking at the different elements of it. There's Legos, there's Pathos, and stuff like that. We are able to actually appeal to different values of people and different things. So rhetoric is not just a bland flat line. It's very colorful within itself. There are at least 3 areas in there which form rhetoric. And then there's obviously evidence which you need to back up whatever you're saying. Right, next slide, please. Skills needed. So when we come to the skills that are needed, you find that it's very interesting because there are overlaps between skills that are needed and the next slide that we are going to be looking at. So if we just load the entire screen there, you see that there's confidence, there's teamwork, time management, organization, listening, communication, adaptability, flexibility, and analytical. However, if you don't have these, doesn't mean you can't debate. All you need is 1% or 0.5%. You need something, bring something to the table, and this will be worked on. You will develop this. And then if you move on to the next slide, this critical thinking as well, it merges into benefits, okay, into purpose, into functions. So you find that these things are things you can expect to sort of get from the debating. Okay, the list is not exhausted here. There's so much which you can get. These are benefits to you, to your career, to anything you're involved, to even arguments on TikTok. You know, you saw that there is debates which happen on TikTok comment section, even on Instagram, on Facebook, or, you know, everywhere. It's an argument. So you can have structured arguments even on TikTok. You won't just say things out of the way. You'll be methodical and you'll be very, very systematic in how you approach things. I mean, you might be viewed as a robot and boring, but, you know, at least you will really be clear about what you're saying. So these are the benefits, but they are also skills in a way. But if you don't have the skills, doesn't mean you can't come and debate. Come with whatever you have. Don't hold back, because the more you practice, the more you get this going, the more you see the results and the benefits even in your career at the bar, okay? Next page, please. So now onto the marking criteria, which we shall be using. So very simple, concise, precise. You can't get things confused. You've got something to focus on and say, right, these are the areas I need to work on, okay? So there is knowledge of the topic, there's communication of topic, there is organization of arguments, there's rebuttal of arguments, and there's debating techniques. It's self-explanatory there, okay? As we go along, some of these resources you'll be given, they'll become available to you, so you know exactly what you're working with, so you can actually plan your debates with a marking criteria, because the judges will be marking you against this. So even the feedback you get will be based on this, okay? So it won't just be some subjective exercise. It will be very objective, and you can really work on this. Debating is not just debating. It's an art. It's a craft. You really have to work at it, and this will help you a lot, okay? Now, on to the next page. Now, on to parliamentary debates. Who's ever actually done a parliamentary debate? I know James and Chantal, you said you debated. Was it parliamentary or it was some other type? Yes, James?
What do you mean parliamentary?
Who wants to explain parliamentary debate in 30 seconds to Chantal?
I'll give it a crack, Theo.
Okay, Taz.
So parliamentary style debating is essentially where you mimic what happens in Parliament. So you have someone putting a proposition forward by the House. The House is, if you will, the Speaker manages the two sides. You have someone putting a proposition forward, and then you have the opposition challenging that proposition. And essentially, you go in a very systematic way from between the two teams with rebuttals put in and a judge to oversee, and then at the very end, a marking assessment is done.
Thank you, Taz. That's Taz, those who were there at the beginning. Taz is the founder of Legist Lab. He wasn't able to to be officially here today, but we're happy that he was able to join from wherever he is. Thank you very much, Taz, for that explanation. It's very clear. Does that answer your question, Chantal?
Yes, it does. Thank you, Taz. And no, it was not entirely like that. No.
Okay. Anyone who's done it besides Taz? Taz, I know he's got extensive knowledge on this. James, yes?
Yeah, so I mentioned 3 debates earlier. The first was not BP style, but the 2 ones I did through my in of court, as you might well imagine, were BP style, because that tends to be what they prefer. And rather foolishly, the first time I decided to be whip, which is probably ill-advised given the unique nature of the whip, which I'm sure you'll explain in due course.
Thank you very much. How did you find the whole experience with parliamentary?
It's a lot more rigid than, say, American debates that you might watch on YouTube, for instance, where things are a bit more fluid, particularly in regards to butting in on somebody else's argument. There's a real precise format to butting in and answering somebody else butting in, whereas, at least in my experience of the American style, which is what my undergraduate was, you can very much kind of smack someone down without airs and graces.
Yes, absolutely. It's there's a core contrast which you can even make. Some people say that the courtroom in America is more bright, electrifying, fun than the British courts. They've been very formal, very procedural, very traditional, very gentleman approach. But I'm sure we watch movies. It's not always in the movies, but there is always this, it's a myth maybe, or even a fact, I don't know. That's a debate for another day. That is the fact with things like the British. But again, when you look at Prime Minister's questions, how many have watched those? Or how many watched those? The Wednesday ones. What do you think about that? Is that boring? Would you say that's boring or that's really electrifying?
Yeah, I would say it's definitely boring.
Really? Okay. I find it fun, to be honest. Maybe it's because it depends on who's on either side. Particularly, I liked it when it was Boris Johnson and Sir Keir Starmer. I enjoyed that season. It was just, I wonder how they both felt when they were going up to that. But that's just me, okay? But James is absolutely right. There is this feel that BP is very laid back, sort of really monotone, maybe even, and stuff like that. But it doesn't have to be like that, okay? If you can put forward good arguments, if you can put forward solid with evidence and rhetoric is like the fire in any debate, because it's those elements of sarcasm or questions which don't need answers, all that flair. So you can make it very exciting, okay? So don't be put off by it's British Parliamentary. And again, when you go to Lincoln's Inn, you go to any Inns of Court, to many platforms and spaces, it is BP that you'll experience. So you have to embrace it. You remember the adaptability we spoke about earlier, about the skills you need, the flexibility, you need all that and be able to really embrace it. So in a nutshell, it's 4 teams, 2 sides, government and opposition, 8 speakers, 2 per team, 7-minute speeches. They're protected minutes on both sides. So in between, the 5 minutes, there's what's called use of point of information. Who wants to explain this in a nutshell? What's use of points of information?
Sorry, I held off putting my hand up so it wasn't just me talking, as it were. Counter arguments, really. Because there can be questions, but sometimes you can bring up evidence to undermine an argument.
Yeah. There are counter arguments, interjections, sort of, in an informal argument, it's when you're talking and someone starts to talk while you're talking. You can't do anything about it. They can keep talking and, you just have to either subdue or overpower them. But in a debate, What can you do? When someone tries to interject you, what can you do? Those who've done BP, what can you actually do? Let's say Elicia is, she's on the floor, she's making a presentation, and I interject. What can Elicia do? There are two things which she can do, right? What can she do? Does she have to allow me to speak, or she can tell me to back off?
Does it depend on who is interjecting? So if I don't know if it's what do you call it, the intervention, judicial intervention, or if it's just the opponent or the other person on the other side who's interjecting. One, I guess she can take the question or the interjection, or she can continue or maybe say, I'll get to that point, or I mean, there's a way to do it, I imagine.
Yeah, absolutely. That's in a nutshell, that's it. You can take the point, or you can say no later or something. So you don't have a lack of options. You can do something about that. Yeah. Right. Next slide, please. Now we're just going to go into the structure of the debates. It's almost similar, really, but just a little bit more broken down. Again, it's 4 teams. You've got the opening government, closing government, opening opposition, closing opposition, 2 sides, which is basically government and opposition, or proposition, as some would know. And it's 8 speakers. So each team has got 2 speakers. Okay, so we're not going too much into learning about parliamentary debates. You can now start to look into this in your own time. Try to understand what is it, okay? Because this is what we're going to be doing. Once that motion goes out, your job now is to start preparing, getting ready for the debate which is coming up. You know what debate we're going to be doing. You've got an appreciation of the format of that debate for those who haven't done it before. So this is this in a nutshell, okay? Now, on to the next slide, please. Now we're just going to open up the floor right now to questions. Anyone who's got a question, anyone who's got any comments or anything of that sort, I'll hand over to Elicia now. And then once that's done, we will continue and wrap up the session.
From what I can see, there's nothing been asked in the chat.
Yeah, you mentioned earlier about rhetoric. Is there going to be a session specifically on that? Because it's a concept I've just started doing the gentlest bit of looking into. And I'd be keen to know more from somebody like yourself who said you were a big fan of it.
Yeah. So thank you very much, because that question I'm pretty sure is going to help a lot of people, not just tonight, but those watching this session by way of a recording later. So, like I said earlier, the engagement approach and the learning approach that we are adopting is to really add value to you. So we are not only going to be coming up with motions and say, right, this is a motion. We want to find a way to make it very relevant to you and very interesting to you. So even the structure of the sessions, or some of the things that we can do within the sessions, we can dedicate, let's say, a certain number of minutes, X amount of minutes, or something like that, just to touch on a specific thing. Like rhetoric, it's a big thing because it can make or break. Like I said, there are at least 3 areas. There's logos, pathos, and ethos. These are 3 areas in rhetoric where you are literally appealing. So people do it all the time. They don't know that they're actually doing ethos. They don't really know that they're actually doing pathos. They're doing logos, appealing to logic and reason, appealing to people's values, things that people hold dear, like their morals. Really using even children, for example, if a motion is saying, should children, or should I say children should not be allowed to use mobile phones at school, right? If you are for the proposition, or, the government, you would be saying that, I'm sure most of you have got children in here. Imagine your child is walking home one day and they're in danger and they can't call you. see, you've appealed to something that matters to parents who are in the crowd. You've appealed to something that's very valuable to them. So that's ethos, okay? So definitely, yes, we shall see how we can sort of integrate that into the actual debates, because the thrust of debating within Legist is to actually debate. And there's a judge there who is judging and giving you feedback that's going to be very constructive, not just for debate, but the skills, because you learn transferable skills within debate, right? Transferable skills either in your continuous studies or in your career. So things like the tutorings, the tutorings, which is actually learning about elements about it, we can definitely see how to incorporate that. That's going to be possible. Yeah. Anybody else has got a question? Yes, Jyoti?
Hi Theo, thank you for that great introduction to debating. I've never personally done debating myself, so it's a really good understanding what you've just told us now. But I do have a question in particular. So while debating, do we actually refer to legal authorities? Are we required to refer to case law and stuff? Or is it just simply, debating on a subject, on a topic, and being as persuasive and convincing as possible?
I'll hand over this one to Elicia. Do you want to answer this one, Elicia?
Yeah, no, that's fine. I think maybe if we do like a mixture, just to then you can develop your knowledge there also, that there's the link between obviously like meeting and then public speaking. So I think, yeah, if we do a mixture of both throughout the next couple of months, some including like legal and then some that are non-legal, so you can get the balance between mooting and public speaking.
That makes sense. But just because I've never done a debate before personally, would we, like, while we're debating, do we actually refer to the case, or say, just for instance, like referring to Donahue v. Stevens, or any case that's relevant, would we need to refer to that particular case, or is it a case of we just simply debate on that subject alone?
I think maybe that we'll include specific case law that you could refer to, and even just include, for the first few sessions anyway, like a brief overview of what the cases are, because I appreciate that some people probably, again, haven't done it before or don't really know where to start with case law, because it can be quite overwhelming. So even if we just give like a brief overview, and then at least then that can help you develop your debating skills there. Okay. Then if you add there of what I've just said.
Yeah, and just to add on that, thank you, Elicia. That's a very good answer. We're actually talking about the idea of not just limiting the motions, especially just to legal topics. So obviously, if it's a legal topic, a legal motion, then it's almost inevitable that you're going to refer to a case law or judicial comments or something like that. So I think at the end of the day, okay, I think what really makes the debate substantial is evidence. Okay, it's evidence. And the judge, for example, if in our context we are aspiring barristers, okay, that's what we are aspiring to become. This is an online platform for aspiring barristers, and we are going in that direction of a legal practice. So using case law, using cases shouldn't really be, a mammoth of a task for us. It should be bread and butter to some extent. However, I'm not taking away from the fact that some people might not know, because someone might join and maybe they're right at the beginning and they have no clue what they want to. Maybe they actually want to become a solicitor, or they're still deciding, but still you need case law. So I think at the end of the day, as long as you know that it's evidence, that's good, because that's the other thing we're going to be sort of really talking about as we're going along. Some of the feedback you get from judges is you need to research, you need to be prepared, you need to know where to research, because it's not everywhere. Right now, there is fake news, there is unreliable sources. So you don't want to come and start saying things which are not true and stuff like that. So it's all about evidence. If that case is going to really give evidence, that's going to be so strong that even a lay person will understand what it is all about, then, I mean, why not? But if it's something that's so, legal jargon that even you yourself are failing to integrate it into your argument, then probably not a good idea to go down that rabbit hole. So yes, I hope these two answers really put it into perspective for you and anybody else who's going to watch this later on.
No, I was just going to say that really clarifies everything. Yeah, thank you for that, both.
Yes, Taz, go ahead, please.
Yeah, just like to say it was a lovely presentation to listen to this evening, so thank you for all of that. I wanted to make this one point as to why these sessions are so valuable to people, not only for everything that you've touched on, but also for the fact that it's the perfect training ground to learn to debate because what you'll find is, as we are a platform for aspiring barristers, the pupilage interviews that you will attend, 90% of the pupilage interviews I attended, there was a debate topic, either at first or second interview. And it's you have to learn the practice of debating to be able to handle those questions. And Legist is the perfect place to learn how to master this craft. Yeah, we want to help people and add a lot of value to them in any way that we can. And I think what I was just wanting to highlight is that these sessions will be extremely valuable when people's interviews come knocking. You would have hopefully practiced the craft, so when they throw those debate topics at you, you have the skill set to deal with them.
Thank you very much, Taz. That's very valuable information. So, as you can see, the benefits of debating are not limited to just what we can talk about, but it's very extensive, okay? And in the context of us barristers, pupilage, you're going to be faced with a debating scenario or something close to that. So this is training ground that is invaluable. So please, like I said, it's an inclusive and very active learning space. We're not just going to be dishing out solutions, telling you what to do. We want you to bring what you have to the table. We want to align what we have with what you have, so that this is a very fit for purpose product and platform. Otherwise, it's just going to be any other platform that's out there which really won't add value to you. So we want to add value to you, even if you're in first year, second year, third year. It's not too early to start to align yourself to that pupilage. It's not. I started late, but I'm happy I was able to really catch up. I still have some way to go, but I can already see a difference from where I was before by just being involved with debating. I've done mooting as well, but debating is unique because anyone can do it. You don't need to be a lawyer. You don't need to be a barrister, solicitor, judge. It's happening in households. Just earlier I was debating with my 3 kids who are 6, 5, and 3 years old, and they were reasoning to me and giving me points which I couldn't answer. I was like, I had to just keep quiet and concede. So it's happening everywhere. So you can make it relatable to real life, okay? It doesn't have to be some boring thing that's so monotonous and a drag, okay? So, yeah, any more questions? I don't know, Elicia, has anything come into the chats? Anyone?
No, nothing's been added to the chat.
Okay, we've got about 13 people online. Does anyone have a question? Please don't hold back. Don't be shy or afraid. It's a safe space for all of us, and there's no such thing as a silly question. I'm sure you know that.
Just one final one from me, if you can, Theo.
Yes, sure.
In terms of the motions, when will they be set? And in terms of getting my hands on the marking criteria and that type of information, where can I go to kind of get all of that information in preparation for the next debate?
Okay. Elicia, do you want to answer that?
Yeah. So basically, when you go on to the actual event, underneath will be like a link, and that's going to have like the marketing criteria as well as like an example of how you can plan. So I think it would be quite good if we have 2 different ones, where it will be one that's like legal and then one without, so then you can see what kind of like case law or statutes that you could research. And in terms of when it will be, I'd say about 2 weeks before the actual debate is set, so you'll be able to access it.
Yeah. So that's basically where we are starting from. That's the starting point. And the honest truth is, like I said earlier on, this is a new initiative, and we want to be able to accommodate you, the debaters. You are our debaters. We can't have this platform without you. So any input that you have, any suggestions that you have about the release time, if 2 weeks is too long, or if you want it, if you're a lastminute.com kind of person and you want it a day before, 2 days before, obviously we will have a standard which we have. And then you can always do as you wish. But if you have any suggestions about how we can go about, we have an open door policy. We are not all knowing. Okay, we want to really get the best out of this so that you actually feel like, it's working for you. Okay, as much as I want to also have it work for me, because I'm learning as well. This is going to be a learning opportunity for me, for Elicia, for Taz, and everybody else. Okay, so let's all come with the suggestions you have. Our details, you can easily find our information on in the community. Send Elicia a message, send a message, send Taz a message, and we'll listen to what you're saying and we'll incorporate it in the framework of Legist debating.
And just to build on that, Theo, just in case anyone does want to leave any anonymous feedback, they don't have to leave their name. There's a space in the community where you can leave any suggestion that you'd like, anything you want to see improve, or things that you didn't like. You're welcome to leave it there, and our team will pick it up and look at it.
Yes, thank you very much. Yes, some people are more candid when they're anonymous, so that is also there. That feature is there. So please, by all means, okay? Like I say, it's constructive feedback, not just from judges to you, but even to us as well. As the ambassadors, we want to be able to serve you well, do the right things so that everybody is happy, okay? So I think that is it, unless there's any other question, Elicia? Nothing? In the chat?
Nothing in the chat.
Okay, so just to sort of answer a question that might be asked by somebody who's watching this in the future about, so what next? Okay, so September is coming up, and I believe it's the 8th, is it? The 8th of September or 9th?
I thought
right?
it was the
Yeah.
No.
Anyway, you will see the information coming out. It's once a month. It's on a Thursday, 6:30 to 7:30, just like today. It's just the date which will vary. And it will either be Elicia or myself, or it could be Taz, or it could be somebody else, okay? Because this is a growing platform, growing community, and we want you to get the best value out of these sessions. So you'll be seeing these familiar faces going forward, and we hope to get to know you as well more. Get to understand, your style of debate, your rhetoric style, all that. I'm quite excited and looking forward to learning from you guys as much as you're going to be learning from each other and from this platform. Okay. Right. So that is it with the question and answer section. Please, next slide. So just to reiterate the learning outcomes to make sure that everyone has understood what we're all about today. So we wanted to discuss and allow you to be able to define what debating is and explain the benefits to your career. I'm sure that most of us, if not all, hopefully, have managed to get or come out with this learning outcome to describe what constitutes the marking criteria. As Elicia said, this will be available to you guys. It's not something that's secretive to us. It will be made available to you guys so you can work with it and to be able to explain the engaging and learning approach. This is basically, we are all learning. You come, it's active, it's practical, it's not a monotone lecture style. It's really interacting and even getting to know each other, building relationships, connections, networking. It's all in one, okay? And the ability to explain the structure of Legist debating. So this is a unique kind of debating, okay? Yes, you can debate in person, but this is a virtual debating platform, online community. Yes, everything is going online. A lot of things are now. Some people might not be comfortable with it. So please don't worry, even if you don't want your camera on at times, you just want your voice there, don't shy back, okay? Just come and let's debate, okay? Right. Then the next slide is basically us wrapping up and saying this is the conclusion, and just to leave you with something, please just go and consolidate. There's nothing that beats consolidating, okay? Going over stuff, repetition. it's not always monotony, okay? You actually learn something new each time you repeat something. So these slides will be made available to you. This recording will be made available to you. And as Elicia said, the motion will be made available to you about 2 weeks in advance. But if you have any suggestion as to any of these formalities or formats, please get in touch and we will consider everything seriously, okay? That's the end of today. Thank you very, very much, everybody who has made it to this inaugural introductory session for debating Legist. We're looking forward to every one of you bringing your best foot forward and, learning from each other. Elicia, do you have anything you'd like to add before we close?
No, I hope everyone just, takes it as a really good opportunity to grow and obviously contribute towards your career as a aspiring barrister.